Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Department of Training and Internazionalization at the Ordine Architetti Pianificatori Paesaggisti e Conservatori di Napoli Provincia, Consigliere Antonio Coppola and I, Salvatore Polverino, want to express sincere consideration to the organized committee. As a reminder, if you have comments about any of our activities, please feel free to send us an email at info@napoli.archiworld.it. This report serves three purposes. A, to provide background information on the role of remote sensing technology in disaster management. B, to analyze in detail the impact of changing land use in harbor management. And C, to inform about the framework and policies which regulate the harbors. In the first instance, for the case object of the study, the analysis embraces data of accidents that took place on the 22nd of September 2014 by interrogating the firefighter offices of Los Angeles Weather National Service and private stakeholders. In the second instance, the literature search, selection of studies, inclusion and exclusion of pertinent datasets were accounted. Once the datasets have matched the initial scope, I finished evolving the machine learning model with further experimentation based on the initial air model. In the third instance, we notice the definition of a review scope, revealing and categorizing premises. 5 are identified as the main inputs: spaceborne Landsat imagery, the response of the Environment Agency from the 22nd of September, and a group of policies belonging to the spatial legislation of this harbor district and national security. Preprocessing calibrations and air model crowding model have been followed separately in a second stage whereby data became substantial. In the third and last stage, the Landsat surveys have served as a model of the features extraction and finally converging into the machine learning phase. Due to the severity of this hazard, the threat can be identified as pertinent to the terrorism subject, for which a military force is only as effective today as current capabilities allow, and in future it will only be as effective as investments in new capabilities made today will allow. According to the Los Angeles County, its jurisdiction is regulated upon Section 51182 and 18930 of the Health and Safety Code of California, issued by the State Fire Marshal. The geostatistical crunching method is conventionally used in the spatial dimension to predict PM10 missing values in a series by utilizing information from neighboring data, supported by the hypothesis of mathematical expectation. Overall, higher concentrations of heavy metals and metalloids were found 1.5 kilometers away, sampled at the George de la Torre School. Regarding the facilities of the platform, we are at the B3 brick bulb terminal with liquid oil tanks present. In the next slides, I summarized the most important articles that I suggest for those who may be interested to deepen this case: panchromatic sensing solution and the dark object subtraction that interest the Landsat US Earth observation satellite. Conversion to radians is the preprocessing step whereby the digital inputs are converted back to radians, often termed at sensor radians, by using rescaling factors, in example calibration coefficients associated with each band for a given sensor. The second adjustment applied into this study is the solar correction that converts at sensor radians to top of atmosphere reflectance by incorporating exo-atmospheric solar irradiance, Earth-Sun distance, and solar elevation angle. Natural combination was taken into account in the series 432. So on September 22nd, 2014, the Woodworth underneath the transit sheet caught fire because of a torch welding accident. As a result of this combustion, the liquid creosote material that was used to coat the timbers supporting the wharf in the 1930s to prevent erosion made them highly flammable. As suggested by local media, the negligence played an important role behind this event. The welder did not operate with a proper shielding well in defense of creosote-treated timber. And NFPA 30 edition approved as an American national standard and that regimes the flammable and combustible liquids code. So now we are
Situation
watching
this
a
evening at the
brief
Port of Los Angeles. The fire burning since last night is still a health hazard. Flames ripped through berths 177 through 179, forcing the evacuation of hundreds of nearby school children. CBS News' Randy Page is live on the scene with upset parents who say they were never notified that their children had been moved. Randy.
That's exactly right, Paul. You know, this is a story where the picture tells it all. If you take a look, you can see a little bit of smoke here. LACD Fire saying they're now down to more than 90% contained. This is just about out. They'll be moving to mop-up operations any minute now, but in the meantime, this smoke has been a real problem down here.
Let's take a look behind me right now. You can see that this firefight is still very much going on right now. LACD Fire says the fire is contained but not extinguished at this point. Let's go.
About a mile away at George De La Torre Elementary School, parents waited for word about when their children would be returned to the school. After classes began here this morning, the wind changed direction, and LA Unified decided to move the elementary students here to a nearby high school as a precaution.
For this analysis, we are examining now the values of the Gabor filter used for edge detection. In this work, I engineered 20 Gabor filters in 4 scales and 5 orientations, which is shown on the right as the most pertinent Gabor ratio to this feature enhancement. The feature this platform produces, therefore, a stack of results higher than 30. The input data are split into 2 datasets, one used to train the model, blue, and the other for validation, orange, attempt. For optimal training, the accuracy is to minimize loss, with both curves tending to be aligned between prediction and the ground truth. The iterations are subdivided into epochs, and they highlight the tendency of both the curves, whether bumpy or smooth, depending on the quantity and quality of data. In this slide, we can visualize each pixel I annotated that was taking into account. The output image from the image annotations had included all the classes of the final binary masks. Most of the computational methods use machine learning algorithms combining various random forest descriptors by developing plenty of decision trees based on a random selection of data and random selection of variables. According to section 51178 and 51179, fire break zones are strategic drivers demanded to prevent the risks of high severity zones, and they are undertaken with a not less than 30 feet distance protection curtain along the property line. Finally, the second video uses ground truth image as a Voronoi pattern, and as you may notice, this workflow is capable of great adaptability. From a virtuous perspective of continuous improvement of energy management planning system, ISO 50001, fundamental for the ISM code management and of the safety management system, the research can offer an extension for the Plan, Do, Check, Act planning, particularly for the mitigation of those perimeter areas of buildings that are subject to insurance risk. This is consented without certain disadvantages such as cloud coverage and time consumption. Thanks for this space and attention.